everybody, welcome back to the Claremont Classic Garage. It's kind of nasty outside today, so we're going to do a job inside. That's what's happening outside. We're under a winter storm warning. We're expecting over a foot of snow now. It keeps, every time I look at it, it's more and more and more. It started out 20 centimeters, which is about 8 inches. Then it went to 30 centimeters, which is just over 12 inches. Now we're at 35 centimeters expected. So that's about, I'd say 14 inches of snow. A few videos ago, we serviced and attempted to clean the resin in our water softener. It didn't work. The water still would not make it to the next regen cycle without going hard. So the next thing I did, we changed from the number 5 meter disc, which was in there, so that this thing basically, with a number 1 disc, which is the lower number you can get, it's 1,200 gallons of water per regen cycle. So number 5 is 1,200 divided by 5, 240 gallons per regen cycle. That wasn't cutting it, so I swapped in a number 6 disc, which reduced it to 200 gallons per regen cycle. And that still wasn't even close to being enough. So at this point now, we're faced with the reality that the resin inside here is finished. So what it is it's millions of little polystyrene beads in there that attract the minerals from the water. And what happens is, over the years, they rub against each other. So they end up, instead of sphere against sphere, they end up flat against flat, and they lose a tremendous percentage of their surface area to grab the mineral. So what happens is you have to change the resin or get a new softener. Now, a softener like this is between $3,000 and $4,000. So we'd like to avoid that. So you get a bag of resin here. Resin and the special filter, it worked out to $232. That was the best deal I could find on this stuff. So we're going to go ahead and learn together how to change the resin in a Kinetico water softener. This procedure is not unique to a Kinetico. If you've got a single tank water softener, you only have one tank to do. Now, the first thing we need to know is how much is in there. So here's our manual, and this is a Model 30. So each tank takes 0.47 cubic feet of media, or 13.3 liters. So lucky for us, this thing is 1 cubic foot, or 28.3 liters. So we've got just enough and then some to do both tanks. So let's get started. First thing we're going to do is put it in bypass and shut off the water to the softener. Now we can undo these 2 hoses. You don't want to get soaked, Cooper. Now we'll pull out this pin. It may have you can see there, a cotter pin or something in the bottom there to lock it in, but ours doesn't have that. I lost it a long time ago. Now we'll get this out of here. All right. Now we're going to gently work this thing out. You got to be careful. This thing is plastic. You don't want to break it. But it does get in there. There we go. It's coming. There. So that's that out. Next, we got to get out these 2 pins, and they hold the 2 tanks together with this little manifold thingy. There we go. I guess theoretically you really only have to get one out. Does it have a link on the bottom too? Yeah, it's got a link on the bottom too. Cooper, no. You can't eat the water softener. That's no good. All right, now we'll have to gently get this apart. So there you go. Now we've got them separated. I'll pull the rear tank out and we'll get it cleaned up and change the stuff in it and get it put back in. We'll just put it upside down in there and let the water drain out of it. Now, to get out the resin beads inside there, we have to get this manifold off the top. And it's screwed in and it's got an O-ring seal. And it's been on there a very long time. So how we're going to get it off, we've got the thing ratchet strapped to the jack post here in the basement. And we're going to see what we got to do to get this thing unscrewed. We're going to use a piece of pipe to get in there and get this thing cracked loose. Now, what you want to do, you could see, I put the flash on? Yeah, there we go. Down in there, you could see, you want to be pushing against this stuff. You don't want to be on this side pushing against this outer thin part. You'll break it, and then you're screwed. So what we're going to do is put it in this side, so we're pushing against that. I mean, I don't think it's going to take a ton of force to get this thing loose. It's not like it's metal, it's plastic, right? You just got to get that, there we go, look. You just got to get that initial seal of the O-ring busted free. And there it comes. All right. So let's see what's in here, eh? We'll have to clean all these parts too. We've got this thing loose. Now we'll pull it out. There we go. You can see there's some of the media. Here's our stand tube. So you can see our media down in there. Now we're going to dump it out into a bucket. A 5-gallon bucket. Drill some holes in the bottom of it. And then we put a pillowcase in it. Then we can dump the media in. The pillowcase will catch the media, but let the water through, and the water will go out the holes in the bottom of the bucket. What I should do though is put a couple of notches in it, because I can see this sealing to the bottom of the laundry tub and not letting the water out. So there we are. That worked pretty well. All the water is draining out of it. The control cylinder looks a little bit different because of all this mechanism on the top, but it's exactly the same procedure. We'll tie it to the post, stick our pipe in there, and get it cracked free. Now we're ready to put the new stuff in. It doesn't really matter if you get every last speck of it out of there. We're just putting more of the same thing back in. And the only thing that was really wrong with this stuff is that it was just, you know, kind of worn out, only half effective anymore. So it doesn't hurt anything to leave a few dregs of it behind. So what we're going to do now is we're going to just basically divide this bag evenly between both cylinders. This is the special funnel that you use for this. See how it fits in there perfectly? So we'll just kind of bit by bit put some in each cylinder, and just kind of look down there and eyeball it and see that they look pretty much even. So I've already started a little bit into this tank. Now we'll put some in this tank. It comes out, it's almost like sand. Yeah, see that one's up to there now. So we'll put the rest into that one, and they should be just about even. So now that we've got that done, what we have to do before we screw the heads back in, we have to make sure there's none of those beads in the threads there. That'll bung things up tremendously. So we're just going to get an old toothbrush and clean them up. I couldn't find a normal toothbrush, but I got my dinosaur toothbrush. So we're just going to go around and get these threads cleaned up nicely. Look at the stuff that's coming out of them. This stuff it's funny. I don't know if it's like static or something, but it sticks to everything. It might be. It's a plastic media, so it probably does get statically charged, right? When you're pouring it and it's bouncing off itself. Maybe that's part of what it does when it's in there. Don't ask me. Okay. So now we can put the heads back on them. I got to get the heads and a little dish soap. Same thing on this. We've got the threads all cleaned up. Now there's an O-ring right there. That's what seals it. So we're just going to put a little dollop of dish soap on that just to lubricate it. And then this, on some of these softeners, the stand tube actually stays in it and you have to cap it so that you don't fill it up with media. But on this one, you can see the stand tube is attached to the head and it's got this point on here. So you just kind of, you get that in there and you just gently work it down. Until we can get our thread engaged. And there we go. There. Hand tight is all it needs. So I will repeat for the other one. Now we're going to lube up these O-rings on here. Get those in, our transfer pipes, or whatever we're going to call them. There we go. All right, now we can join the two bottles or tanks back together. Okay. There we go. Get that. Oh, where'd the nut go for it? We'll just get this attached back now so we don't lose it. It's hanging around there. There we go. Now we have to put this little pin back through here. That's what holds these two tanks together. There we are. Just like that. Now we can hook this back up. I think it goes under that one though. Might be a little long, that one, but that's okay. This is what picks up the brine. There. Okay, that's all good. Now we gotta get our manifold back hooked up. Something I learned from my father-in-law. Always have yellow rope with a loop in one end hanging around, because this stuff you could use for 10 million things when you're working around your house. Thanks, John. All right. Okay, thanks, Deb. Now, this here has got a little bit of scuzz on the end of it, but it's just, that's okay. It's not really sticking up. It's just ugly. So a little more dish soap. Another thing I've done in this house that I don't know, you might agree with or not agree with. I'm a mechanic. And if you have something attached to the body and the other end of it's attached to the frame and it's connected with a steel line or a hard line, you need some sort of flex. Like this house, the floor goes, you know, I'm exaggerating, but it goes doing, 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 doing. I don't want this attached to something sitting on cement with a hard pipe. So I used a lot of flexible hoses in here. Whether it's correct or not, I don't know, but it makes me feel better. That's the mechanic in me. Come on. There we go. That's a tight fit. And then one more pin. Oh, I'm all covered in soap. There it goes. That's really weird. Give me a sec. So we just needed a little love tap from the Claremont Classic Garage BFH to get this thing seated in, and the pin just fell right back through. So now the last thing I'm going to do before I put this thing back into service is we're going to change back to our number 5 meter disc. All right, so before we open the water valves and put the water back to this thing, we have to look at the little dot here and make sure it is in between regen cycles. And it's really hard to see, but the little dot is right there, and that is in between a regen cycle. So we're good there, because we'll have to initiate 2 manual regens to flush out and purge the air out of each side of this thing. So we'll do that, and then this thing can go back into service. First thing we're going to do is close the bypass. And we're going to open our tap here, because there's going to be a lot of air coming out. And we're going to slowly let the water back into this thing. There she goes. All right, it's filled itself all up. So what we're going to do now is force it into regen. So you can see the little dot right there. So we got to advance that dot to here. So you push down on this. See that? That turns that thing there. See that? That little lever? That catches. There's a little step where that dot is. And we just wind her around. And we'll hear it go. There it goes. So that's our first manual regen. We'll let it go right around, and it'll stop over here. And then we'll initiate our second manual regen, and that'll have this thing all ready to go. While we wait for that thing to finish its first regen, I can see the plow has gone by and left a 3-foot wall of stuff at the end of my driveway. But that's okay. We'll get it cleaned up. I'm not expecting any deliveries or anything today, so there's no reason to get out there and clean up the driveway until this is done. Our first regen just finished, so we're going to advance now. Advance it to the second regen, and then that'll be both cylinders purged, clean, ready to go. And there it goes. So we'll let that run. It takes half an hour or 40 minutes or so for it to do its thing. Our second regen just completed. So both tanks now are primed, regen, cleaned, whatever you want to call it, and ready to go. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to throw a load of laundry on behind me here and make sure that this side works. This is the gallon counter. So there's an impeller and a series of gear reductions in there, and that'll turn this eccentric, which advances the meter disc, which will eventually advance the control disc and put it into its next automatic regen. So let's check that out. You might not notice it because it's moving so slow, but you can see the eccentric is turning. So that's good. That side of our softener also works. Last part of the operation is going to be, I will check the water 3 times a day until it's gone through 2 automatic regens, just to make sure that the soft water lasts from regen to regen and it doesn't go hard like it was doing before. Because of everything that was going on, I'm just running this tap. This is pretty much the closest tap to the softener, aside from the laundry room tub downstairs. But this is the one I chose. I'm gonna use for a test. All right, that should have cleared out the pipe. So now we'll just get a little dabble of water on there and check it against our chart here. And you can see that's what we want to see. The water registers as soft. We have made it to our first automatic regen, and we're still getting soft water. So that's good. We'll let it finish, and then we'll keep an eye on the water quality until the next auto regen. Well, we're getting close to our second regen, and the water has still been looking pretty good. Let's check it this morning. And you can see there, it's still perfect. Another thing I've been keeping an eye on is the hot water, because even though the softener is working again, you have to remember the hot water heater downstairs is a 60-gallon tank of whatever whatever was in there. So it was pretty hard, even though the cold water was running good. So we're gonna see. We have been getting it flushed out over the last few days, but you can see here it's still got a tiny bit more hardness than the cold water. But I mean, a couple of days ago it was over here. Now it's there. So we're well on the way to having the hot water heater flushed back out and back to normal. Well, success. We managed to make it to our next automatic regen. You can see it's over there now. It's done the cycle. And we had nice soft water all throughout. So both tanks of regen, and both times we made it to that regen with soft water. So I guess we can say this thing is cured. What I will do is probably once a month from here on out, now that I've got all those test strips, I will continue checking it just to keep an eye on it so it doesn't get like this again. Like I said earlier, the resin in this thing is supposed to last, I looked it up, 5 to 10 years. Well, this stuff was in there for 20, so I guess it was due for a change, eh? Anyway, I guess that's it with the water softener for now. We've had a couple of goes at it. Hopefully I don't hear from it anymore for a while. Anyway, we're going to get back out to the garage for now and do some garage stuff. So until we meet again, thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time on the Claremont Classic Garage. So long.